Okay, we are good to go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I am going to go ahead and call the Regional Transportation Advisory Committee meeting to order. It is 8:32 a.m. on September 24th of 2025, and we will start with roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Stacy Dupuy. Here. Michaela Owens.
Here.
Tom Laws.
Here.
Cody Homan.
Here.
Alex Yan.
Here.
Bob Callahan. Lindy Lindstrom. Clay Tucker. Michelle Barron. Dan Lister. Deb Root. Bree Brush. Deanna Dupuy.
Here.
Joe Dotson from Morgan Besaw.
Here.
Hallie Hart. Nicole Baird Spencer.
Here.
Andrew Glassbell.
Here.
Hannah Veal.
Present.
Lee Belt. Troy Behunin.
Here.
Marina Lundy for Doug Hansen.
Here.
Daryl Romine.
Here.
Caleb Hood.
Present.
Ryan McClure.
Present.
Jason Van Gilder.
Present.
Crystal Craig.
Present.
Clemente Salinas. Mark Stoyer.
Here.
Rob Hartsock.
Here.
Matt Qualls, excuse me. Sean Nickel.
Here.
Chelsea Johnson. Joe McMullen. Gabe Finkelstein.
I'm here.
Zach Pietmeyer. Mike Toole.
I'm here.
Vince Timbroli for Aaron Bogus.
Here.
Jason Wild.
I'm here.
Stephen Hunt.
Here.
Miranda Carson.
Here.
Curtis Lovelace. Jamie Neal. And Cody Lund. Is there anyone I missed or who joined us after I called your name?
Hi, this is Michelle Barron. I just got on.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
All right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 2, open discussion and announcements.
Madam Chair, this is Amy Luft with Compass. I have 2 announcements.
Go ahead, Amy.
First is just a reminder of our Housing and Transportation Education Series events coming up tonight and tomorrow morning, both in this room. Tonight's will be from 6 to 8, and tomorrow's from 8:30 to 10:30 on Wasatch Front Regional Council, which is Compass's counterpart in Salt Lake City, and the work that they are doing to address housing through transportation. And also want to remind people that our Leadership in Motion Award nomination period is just about to come to a close. It closes at noon this Friday, so encourage you to submit your nominations for people, projects, and businesses or nonprofits. If you have any questions on any of the above, or if you need to RSVP for the education series, you can reach out to me or Josie Gallup. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Are there any other discussion or announcements that anyone would like to give?
Madam Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Caleb.
Caleb.
Thank you. The City of Meridian does have an open position for a coordination planner. So if any of your friends, maybe even yourself or a coworker is interested, I would encourage you to apply. Again, that's currently posted on the city's website.
Thank you, Caleb. Last call in discussion and announcements. All right, moving on to item 3, which is the consent agenda. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes, and I will stand for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Action item 4A is to recommend the FY 2026 Compass Resource Development Plan, and I will pass it off to Matt.
Madam Chair, as Matt is walking up, just want to let the record show that Jill McMullen has joined as well.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Matt Carlson, Principal Planner here at Compass. Today, I am looking for a recommendation to the Compass Board of Directors to approve the fiscal year 2026 Resource Development Plan. You can find this item as a supplemental in the memo, which is on page 12 of your packet. The bylaws of Compass specify that one of the Board of Directors' primary responsibilities is to approve the annual development plan, which identifies grants and other funding sources for Compass and resource development activities, which will be pursued by Compass staff. Today, I share with you the fiscal year 2026 Resource Development Plan. The intent of this plan is to get the Compass Board of Directors endorsements of funding pursuits for the fiscal year, and to increase the amount of outside resources and dollars being invested into the Treasure Valley. The plan is divided into 2 sections. The first is comprised of each member agency's projects, and the second section contains both traditional and non-traditional transportation funding sources. Compass collects applications driven by the Long Range Plan, Communities in Motion 2050, that qualify for a specific funding source, which are then ranked, and those applications ranked at the top during the process are recommended for funding as funding levels permit, either with federal formula funds or with our local program funds. Projects that do not get funded then move into the Resource Development Plan. Compass staff reach out to you in August to review your projects in the draft Resource Development Plan for 2026. We also find out about your projects through our annual outreach visits to each of your agencies in the fall, which we are currently scheduling now, so please confirm your outreach meeting with Terry, who is in the back corner. These needs are then documented through your applications that you submit during the annual application process. Those applications, combined with the identified long-range planning and comprehensive studies, make up the project section of the Resource Development Plan. All projects not fully funded through the ranking process then become the focus of the resource development staff throughout the year. The plan serves as our scope of work for what we, the resource development team, will work on throughout the year to help you fund your unfunded projects. Not only do we search and share funding sources as they become available, but we also can help with letters of support at membership requests. And we have multiple other ways that we can provide assistance, including collaboration on grant applications, data collection, assistance with grant review, grant writing, and more. The plan is updated annually to incorporate new projects, as well as to remove already funded projects. And if you need funding for a project, it must be in the Resource Development Plan. We have included your previously unfunded applications, as well as projects and priorities identified in Compass Planning products, including the Long Range Transportation Plan, Communities in Motion 2050, the TISMO Plan, the Regional Safety Action Plan, the ID4 Operations Plan, as well as local project development projects awaiting their next steps for final design and construction. Combined as a whole, these are the projects that we are going to help find funding for FY 2026, located in one location. The second section of the resource development plan is a listing of major funding sources that are available for transportation projects. In addition to these, we identify other sources over the past year by continuously looking for sources and monitoring websites where opportunities are routinely published. So how do you find out about these sources and deadlines? You can sign up for my funding newsletter email. There could be just what you need to get one of your projects funded in there. These are sent out on a monthly basis and forecast grant opportunities for the next 3 months. We know everyone is busy and understaffed, so please don't hesitate to ask for help with grants at any time for any reason, even if it's just to find out what's out there or what that process might look like, to have the resource development staff help any of those projects in the resource development plan. So the resource development plan guides our efforts. It gives us something to shoot for. We realize it can be a moving target, so please keep us updated on your project status or changes and what kind of funding you'll need. Hopefully, you've all had a chance to review the plan. If there are any questions regarding what was presented or the plan itself, you can ask them at this time.
Thank you, Matt. I will go ahead and kick us off. I do have a question on what Compass prefers. So NAMPA has got a couple projects that are, I'm going to call them larger umbrella projects. An example is like our RAISE grant that we received, and it has, I want to say like right now it has 8 finite projects in there, but there's quite often that we will apply for a larger project and then a portion of that will get funded out through another funding source. And so the resource development plan may still show the full umbrella project in the next round cycles. If we know that one of the larger projects is going to be broke up into multiple phases or multiple projects that could go out of phase, is Compass's preference for us to reapply with them being finite projects or leave them as the larger umbrella?
Madam Chair, that's a great question. Technically, if it's part of a larger umbrella project, like your example with NAMPA's RAISE project or grant, it would work if you have a phase that needs to be split off and find its individual funding. We prefer that you submit an individual application just so we can have more detail. It's hard for us to pursue funding if we don't know specifics. But I would say overall, as long as it's in the plan, then you're okay.
Thanks for that clarification.
There are no other questions. The recommended motion is in front of you.
Thank you, Matt. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Tom.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I move that RTAC recommends to the Compass Board of Directors approval of the FY 2026 Compass Resource Development Plan.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a few seconds. Any discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good job, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee.
Action item 4B is to recommend an amendment to the FY 2025 to FY 2031 and 2026 to 2032 Regional Transportation Improvement Programs with Tony Tisdale.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. That is quite a mouthful for this item. The reason that we have 2 tips included in this item is that we're kind of in that weird section of the year where we're still relying on our 2025 to 2031 tip, as that one is federally approved. But the 2026 through 2032 tip has been approved by our board and the Idaho Transportation Board, but not the feds. And so we're continuing to update both of those as we move forward. And as a reminder, we don't number our resolutions until they get into the board packet. So you'll see an X as the placeholder for the resolution number. This is for a recommendation for Compass Board of Directors approval to amend the transportation improvement programs. Today, we have only one request, and it's for an increase and a delay. Anytime a project increases by more than $1 million and is 30% increase of the total project cost, that requires public comment and board action. And so that's the situation we're in today. It is a project in the city of Nampa for Middleton Road from State Highway 55 to Flamingo Road. And it is an increase of about $1.5 million, but the overall percentage increase is 37%. This project has advanced construct with federal funding in the future. It has a lot of local funds already, and the city of Nampa is willing to put the additional $1.5 million as local funding towards this project to get it under construction. So we did go out for public comment between September 5th and 15th. We received 2 public comments. They're both in your packet, but we were able to include both of them on the slide today, and both of them are in support of this project and the additional cost it will take to get the project moving. So I will stand here for any questions, and if there are any, maybe Crystal can help with those about project specifics, or we can move into the motion.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Question for you, oddly enough. But what was the significant increase from? I mean, just, it says increase in engineering estimate. Was there something in particular in the project that triggered that?
Great question. It was an accumulation of multiple things. So this includes a bridge widening, or like a new culvert basically. And that one was underestimated. And then just the cost of pavement and roadway widening. So right now the intersections to the north and south of this bridge have already been improved. And so we've got kind of an hourglass thing going on with the road where it necks down over a bridge and then widens back out. So this one was in our plan for 8 years or so, and it hadn't been touched for the engineer's estimate, and we put it in for advanced construction, and then when it became available for AC, then we redid the estimate, and we under budgeted.
And here is the recommended motion if y'all are ready to move forward.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I move RTAC recommends the Compass Board of Directors adoption of Resolution X 2025, amending the fiscal year 25 to 31 and the fiscal year 26 to 32 tip. Ugh.
It's hard to say.
That
It's
was a lot.
It is a mouthful. Thank you. And we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, this is Stacy. I'll second.
Thanks, Stacy. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And motion carries. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Moving on to informational and discussion items. 5A is a status report for the Resilience Improvement Plan with Austin Miller.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of RTAC, Austin Miller, Principal Planner, Planning Team Lead here at Compass. As was just noted, this is just an information item, but I do want to give you all a status report regarding our Resilience Improvement Plan, as I think it's been a while since you all have seen it last. An overview of what to expect in my brief presentation today. A little bit of background. How did we get here? The purpose as to why we are doing the Resilience Improvement Plan. Findings of the literature review, which were included in your packet. And then a summary of the project up to this point and what you all can expect moving forward. So starting with that background, Communities in Motion helps each of us see those transportation needs that we have in our community and helps guide us towards, as we all work towards the implementation. The resilience chapter in Communities in Motion highlights the benefits of resilience planning and how it supports our regional goals and objectives. However, it also helped us realize that there was more that needed to be done in order to adequately help us prepare our region. So in 2023, Compass staff applied for funding to conduct a resilience improvement plan for our region. Same as you all, us as Compass, we do have to submit applications that are then reviewed by you all as members of RTAC and prioritized for funding. So I wanted to pause here and call that out. The first step is to apply. You will be seeing more from Matt on that in your next item, but I wouldn't be here before you today if we didn't apply for the project. So Tony and her team are great assets to the region. If you have questions, you got them literally on both sides of the room right now. Catch up with them afterwards. They're glad to help you. But the application period is open now. We encourage all of your agencies to take advantage of it. So anyways, in 2023, we submitted for a resilience improvement plan as an idea, and we were pleased to see how much support it received from you all. So you scored it as the highest priority study and special project at the time. So that was really telling to us as staff that we needed to get going, started working on the draft scope of work for this project and wanted to bring it back before you all. So the overall purpose of the project is to understand what natural hazards our transportation system faces, and then assess what components of that transportation system we can really least afford disruptions to, and then use that information to help us prioritize projects for communities in motion, the Regional Long Range Transportation Plan. This in turn will help you all by not only providing the data needed to assess the risk to your infrastructure, but it also provides that consistent regional analysis on how critical that infrastructure is. And then by doing so, it'll set you up to be more competitive for future funding and grant opportunities, or as was literally just noted in your last agenda item, we'll get these projects in the resource development plan if they're not already included in there. Quick pause, because we wouldn't be able to achieve any of this without the help from our work group. So for this project, we've put together a group that includes many of you all as your agency representatives. However, it also includes specialists in this field. So some of our local representatives from federal or state agencies have been brought in to help us, as well as the research wings from our universities. Boise State University kind of falls under that category of, yes, they very much are members. Thank you, Gabe. I saw you there earlier. But we are going through their Resilience Institute, who's able to help us on this project as well. So a big thank you to all those agencies and staffers supporting us as we review hazards, their impacts to the transportation system, and then help work through what those criticality metrics should be as we develop that prioritization list. We've begun work already on this project. The first step of understanding really what has already been done in the region, make sure we're not duplicating efforts here, as a lot of agencies have already identified what hazards we are facing locally. So this information has been reviewed and summarized in that literature review, again included in your packet. In that review, we took information from states, counties, cities, and again, those universities. The team at High Street, our prime consultant on this project, leaned on those local plans to identify what hazards are most common to Ada and Canyon counties and identified which ones are most likely to impact the transportation system specifically, as that's what we're planning for, and summarized this sort of confusing table into 6 main categories: wildfire, flood, landslide, earthquake, extreme heat, and extreme weather. We now currently have a survey open to the members in that aforementioned work group. So if that applies to you, I hope you've taken the survey already. If you have not, after Matt's next agenda item, if you don't mind helping us out, please do fill out that survey, as this survey is going to help inform those next steps. It's looking at those transportation assets, what is most at risk due to these hazards, and what of that infrastructure, if a disruption happens, is most critical to the members within your community. So please take that survey, let us know, as it's going to be really critical as we go through these next steps. That information is being collected as we speak and will be reviewed with our work group in our meeting next month. The project team will then use this info to prioritize projects from the resilience lens that we will then bring the results back to the work group in February for a final review before wrapping up in March. So it is a pretty quick turnaround on this project. At the end, you all will have the data and the documentation behind that list of priority projects for the region, as well as an implementation plan highlighting those future funding opportunities that these projects might be eligible towards as we work towards getting these implemented. So with that, I will pause for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Tom.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I'll give you a question, Austin.
Got it.
I'm really appreciative of this effort. I feel like it mirrors what we did with the Regional Safety Action Plan, setting us up for future grants. Kind of just curiosity question for you or Matt, what's the sense of the Protect funding moving forward? Are we hearing anything that it'll still be around? And I think that's the goal, that we'll be able to take this, identify projects and apply for funding that way. But what are you hearing at the national level?
Yeah, so I will do my best, and if Tony or Matt need to come in and add any additional info, they certainly can. The future of the Protect program, I think, is like other things, not entirely sure at the moment. So we do want to make sure that any projects coming out of this are eligible for Protect. However, we've also worked with our consultant team and in the scope to make sure that they are eligible for other grant opportunities as well. So even if Protect doesn't exist in a few years' time as it currently does, it's likely that funding will still be made available for projects like this. That way, this plan will have value into the future, even if that one specific program does change a little bit with what it's looking for.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Austin. I have one additional question before you run off as well. Will this give information on the jurisdictions that would have ultimate control over the project, whether it be the implementation or the final ownership of it, to help encourage? Because I mean, sometimes multiple agencies can apply for the same type of project where they touch boundaries and things like that, but to give more credence on, like, hey, I'm gonna, if we want to build a bridge or something, I'm gonna own this bridge afterwards, we should apply for it.
So I will do my best to answer, and if I miss the mark, certainly please let me know and I can give it another shot. So if we're looking at existing infrastructure, our standing assumption will be that the current owner will continue to own that infrastructure in the future. If it does identify a potential, for example, like another river crossing in an area could be beneficial, we do not have it scoped to necessarily identify who the future owner, potential operator of that infrastructure would be. However, as RTAC, we're glad to facilitate further conversations amongst our member agencies to have some of those discussions if warranted at the end of this effort.
All right, thanks. Any additional questions? Okay, great job, Austin. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Item 5B is a mini workshop announcing the Compass application cycle with Matt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Matt Carlson back again, Principal Planner at Compass. Today is a presentation on an informational workshop on the Compass application cycle. The memo is on page 32 of your packet. We will go over the application guide, the scoring process, and the application itself for phase 1. The Compass Resource Development Plan and program identifies member needs driven by the Long Range Transportation Plan, Communities in Motion 2050. Through the application process, and those member needs are brought into the resource development plan, which was my previous agenda item. And those needs are then funneled to the appropriate funding sources. For today, we are talking about the phase 1 application process as a whole. Compass application guide that you recommended for approval at your previous meeting is the key to put together a strong application. It has 5 components, but the most important to apply for funding are the application itself and the scoring supplemental. The scoring supplemental is the roadmap to how your project application will be scored. It is the criteria that we as staff use to review your application. So if you follow that, you will know exactly how your application is going to be scored. Phase 1 applications are now open from September to November. This is your sole chance to apply for federal funding for the following year. After the first review, Compass staff will invite applicants who are eligible for phase 2 applications to apply. Phase 2 applications are due in January. Our TAC, you all, will review the recommended projects for funding in February, and the Compass board will approve those projects when they approve the TIP in August. You can also see on this timeline, we will hold a second call for the UPWP member requests in January, and a second call for Communities in Motion implementation grants and project development program grant applications in April. So now we will do a walkthrough on the phase 1 application. We'll go over some changes, what are new this year, what we as staff are actually looking for in your applications, and why we ask this information from you in these applications. So this first circled item is the staff support request section. So you will recall we used to have a entirely different process for the UPWP member services request. That process has now been added to the phase 1 application. So this is where you would apply for a UPWP member request, which would be Compass staff time over 5 days to accomplish one of these items on here. Next is the funding type. This is where you select the color of money you want. So you have the local funding, Communities in Motion implementation grants or project development program grants. Then you have federal funding, which could be STBG or TAP, or staff support only, which would put your project into the resource development plan. After that is the project type. So this is where you choose the mode type or type of project you want. So it could be active transportation, public transportation, roadway, or planning, procurement, or project management and administration. And then at the bottom of this page, I don't think back to work, there we go, is the existing features and conditions of your project. So if you have a construction project, we need to know what kind of existing conditions are actually out there on the roadway or in your infrastructure. So this is where you tell us what is out there, your existing features of your project. And those existing conditions and features are continued on the top of the following page. And below that is where you will indicate all the proposed countermeasures or new additions that you will be adding as part of your project. Then on page 5, we have the purpose and needs section. This is critical as part of your application. It's critical for any kind of grant application or funding application. The purpose and need tells the reviewer the problem that you are trying to solve and why it is important to the community and why is it important to the funder, the person reviewing or the agency reviewing your application. This is where you will select the goal areas of Communities in Motion 2050 that your project aligns with, and then you will explain why your project is critical to the region and how it aligns with these Communities in Motion 2050 goals. This is your real chance to sell your project. Next is the planning document section. This is where you indicate which regional plans your project is listed in or is a priority. please do your research and check yourself. We will not search out every single plan just to make sure it's in there. So you need to tell us, we will confirm. If you tell us it's in there, we'll check it. But we are not going to search every single plan for every single application just to make sure it's in there or not. So it's up to you to tell us. The regional plans are continued on the next page. Up there at the top of that application page. And then after that, I don't think my animation's working on that one, unfortunately. Below that is the local plan inclusion. So if your project is not in a regional plan, but it's in one of your local planning documents, that is your chance to tell us where it is and reference that so we can go and check and confirm that. That finishes up the critical components of the phase 1 application. So now you have a deep understanding of the application process, the timelines, deadlines, and are ready to put together an outstanding application. I know that was kind of quick. Are there any questions? Happy to go back and discuss anything anyone is curious.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
would you be able to go back to the schedule real fast?
Certainly. Gonna take a sec.
So phase 1 applications are due November
21st.
21st.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Phase 1 applications due November 21st. Compass staff will take essentially a month between November 21st and December before Christmas to determine if they're eligible for phase 2. If you are eligible for phase 2, which would be federal STBG funding, then we will reach out to you and ask you to submit a phase 2 application at that time. Those are due in January. And then those applications would come before RTAC, you all, in February.
Matt, I've got a couple questions as well for you. Some of these
Certainly.
come from my staff, so I cannot take credit for them. But right now, it looks like the application is still the Microsoft Word document. Is there any progress or with the application potentially moving to a template? We found that sometimes when we are entering the data, the formatting on the Word document, especially in like where you're in the explain things, it will bump things to other pages and it really messes up the formatting, which can be somewhat arduous. Has there been any thought to making it a little more consistent for us?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is, I believe, our third year with the Word document format. Previously, we had an online template and submittal portal, and the majority of the feedback from RTAC when using that process was that was more arduous and time intensive, and the request from RTAC was to change it to a Word document.
Got it.
So we used to do that, and Compass paid about $5,000 a year to host that service, and we stopped doing that. Now, if the preference from RTAC is to change it up again, we're here to serve you. So we'll take any input and considerations, and happy to work with you.
Thanks, Matt. Apparently, we don't know what we want.
Madam Chair,
yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
Tony.
Yes.
I have something to follow up on that. We'll do a test on the current version and see if we can make any tweaks to it to make it a little bit easier. I also wanted to point out that between the phase 1 and phase 2 applications, staff will be doing a preliminary score. So when you are invited to apply for phase 2, you'll have those preliminary scores, which will help you tweak your applications to maybe get a better score if maybe it was interpreted incorrectly. But it will help you as you build phase 2. We're going to do that preliminary work. That's why it's going to take a month to get it to you.
Lovely.
So I just wanted to point that out. That's kind of a new phase that we started last year, but it's going to be more effective this year. But just to point that out, that we're doing that for you. We do want you to verify what we're providing for you, but it should help phase 2 go along a little bit smoother. But we'll check phase 1 and phase 2, make sure that they're able to be filled out smoothly.
Thank you. I've got a few more if you would humor me, Matt.
Madam Chair, could I jump in really quick?
Sure can.
Maybe just to follow up on that and give a little context, I think if we're looking at this like a pendulum, the old model, we had a lot of issues with saving and being able to scroll through because it was kind of that hosted site. Now we've gone all the way to the Word document. I wonder if there's opportunities to maybe just make it a PDF form or something as well, where you have both of those options. Because I know in previous years, we've struggled with the text boxes in particular. And if you get past a certain limit, then it does jump everything else down to the next page. And we haven't dove in yet this year to see if that still had some, or still the same way. But I'd be open to maybe exploring something else, but I don't think we need to go back to the full online form style that we've done historically.
Madam Chair, Tom, thank you. That's a great suggestion, and we will be sure to put it at the top of our list for next year's application rewrite process. And if any of you want to join that subcommittee, because we'll be forming one, don't forget to sign up.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that recommendation. That was something similar to how I had it in mind. I hadn't actually thought about the online version of it, but yeah. Any other comments on this one before I just
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Matt, if I can.
Yes, please.
Matt, what was the ceiling for a federal funding request? Is there a sweet spot that Compass is looking at? Is that in the scoring supplementals? What are we looking at?
Madam Chair, I'm going to kick that to Tony.
This is Tony. It depends on the funding source. And it would go along with our funding policy and Communities in Motion 2050. So it kind of depends on the project and what funding source ends up being eligible. For STBG funding, it depends on if it's Ada and Canyon County too. So anyway, get with staff if you have questions about that and let us help you through that. The guide has some guidance in it regarding how much funding is available for each type of project. So we can guide you to that page.
Thank you.
Sorry, that wasn't a very specific answer. It depends.
Any other questions? Matt, when compiling the phase 2 applications, all of the Adobe Acrobat forms are compiled within the Word documents. Is there a simplified method to attach them together and submit them this year?
Madam Chair, you're free to email them to us instead of just, if you don't want to go through the rigmarole of creating one giant document, you can certainly email those attachments to us because that's how we take the applications anyways. So you can have multiple documents. That's fine with us. Perfect.
Thank you for that clarification. And then I have one last question. With putting the Compass-led efforts, the time efforts into this application now, some of those requests can be time sensitive. And so typically in this application process, it either gets funded or it goes into the resource development plan, right? Is there a box that we can check to say, like, this is a time sensitive one, we only want it for this application cycle, so none of those will go into the when you have time box or the resource development plan? Like if we just want it scored for the fiscal year that we're applying for, or nothing.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, just to make sure I'm understanding your question right, are you talking specifically about the UPWP member service requests, or are you talking about actual moving an application into phase 2 for funding?
I'm talking just about the UPWP. So typically with this process, you apply and it either goes to phase 2 or it shifts over into the resource development plan. So like one day it will get funding. But if we have a UPWP request, will that follow that same process, or is it we're only applying for this next year for Compass's efforts, and then next year we'll have to reapply.
Okay, I see. Madam Chair, if it's a UPWP request, you can apply now, or we will hold the second call in February, which was the previous timeline that we used to follow. Those member service requests were due in February, and then they would be prioritized and move into the UPWP for the following fiscal year. So it doesn't, even by having the first call for UPWP member service requests now in the fall, it still would not make it into the UPWP until the following fiscal year. So if we're talking today, we're already in FY 2026 UPWP starting next week. If you had a member service request, it would not make it until FY 2027. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I ask one further clarification question on it?
Sure.
If you receive too many UPWP for Compass staff time to handle, will you score them in some way and say, like, these are ones we will get to and these ones we won't be able to? Or will you use that to try and hire additional Compass staff to handle all of the requests? I want to make sure you guys aren't getting overburdened.
Madam Chair, I'm going to let Tony answer that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, on that type of situation, the projects are prioritized by RTAC, and then those priorities are submitted to the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee will determine which projects end up in the UPWP to be funded, whether it, not funded, but worked on. And it depends on what the requests are, how Finance Committee determines staff time should be handled, and if other work can be removed to do some of these additional projects, but there's a give and take on staff time. There's only so many hours. So if there are a lot of applications, they will be prioritized, and Finance Committee will make the determination as a recommendation to the board.
Thank you, Tony.
Madam Chair, just as a clarification, I just want to be clear. The UPWP requests and the local funding requests are done annually. You don't have the opportunity to apply for a future fiscal year. It is just the next fiscal year. So if you don't prioritize well in either category, you will need to reapply the next year to make a new request, correct?
Madam Chair, Nicole, that is absolutely correct. Are you sure you don't work for Compass?
I may be doing this for a little while.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you so much. That was really great information, Matt.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee.
Next item on the agenda is item 6A and B. It's the status reports. It's the RTAC agenda worksheet and the obligation reports. They're on pages 33 and 36, respectively, of your packets. With that, our next meeting is October 22nd of 2025, and I will stand for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion, I need a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and you have a wonderful day.
Have a great week.
Happy new fiscal year to everyone.
Thanks, Tony.